So welcome, everybody. I'm Jennifer Jones, CEO of Howard County Economic Development, and it's so great to be here this morning to discuss partnerships. That's kind of what we try to do here in Howard County, partner with other people, other institutions, because we can't do it all ourselves. So part of our mission in economic development is to make sure businesses thrive. So that's Howard County businesses making sure that they have what they need, especially in the tech sector and the gov tech sector. And when we were thinking about how we can help them better, I met LaToya, and she is doing great things in the GovTech space. It's LaToya, she's Executive Director for Fearless Institute. And we started brainstorming. We were like, you know what? We need to get Delali Daraza and Dr. Ball up here and discuss the partnership and tell everybody why it's so great. So it's my honor to welcome both of you here and to introduce this panel. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, and I am so excited to be here. Howard County and the greater Baltimore region is primed for not only building upon our successes on economic development and the economic ecosystem, but really working together, collaborating, and having Delali here and Fearless as a strong partner for the region just continues to position us very well for not only national but international competitiveness. And so I'm excited to partner with Fearless, and I'm very excited to welcome Delali.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
So I had a couple questions, and I want to just start off. A lot of people have read about Fearless, have seen the great successes, but for those who haven't, tell us a little bit more about Fearless and Hutch.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fearless, we're an innovation company, right? But think of us as tech for good space. So anywhere that we're applying technology to support social good, that's our world. Really this belief around working together with our clients to iterate towards a better tomorrow, really in three different verticals. One, first, building more dynamic governments. Two, really this profound belief about not just protecting, but improving human life. And three, this providing equity and access and opportunity for everybody. And so those are really our pillars as an organization. We are 16 years old, so I had a little bit more hair when this thing started. But this sense of innovation and drive is what's been powering us throughout all these years. And so we've been able to work on a lot of amazing projects from a technical perspective. So everything from human-centered design, where we help clients understand what they need to build and what the experience needs to be, to actually building that technology, scaling it, securing it. And so we've got applications that have a few users and things that have millions of users and everything really in between. So we've seen a lot in our experience. We've been able to do it through multiple sectors, starting off with the Department of Defense and intelligence community, growing into the federal civilian marketplaces, healthcare marketplaces, commercial marketplaces, state and local, nonprofit. So we've kind of seen a bunch of things in our history. And one thing that we've taken from all of that is really this idea of impact. And this idea of really making a difference. And it's really what drives us as an organization. So when we think about our future, we really have a very strong thesis, and it's really our North Star. We call it our 110-1 goal. And it's around improving 100 million lives in 10 countries and being $1 billion in revenue. And so as a company, it provides us with our grounding that it's not just okay for us to be profitable, but we also need to be very purposeful in our approach, right? So purpose and profit need to be aligned within our organization. And as we've grown and as we've scaled, we're one of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. We're the largest software developer in the Baltimore metro region as well. We saw a huge need to support other small businesses, right? We were small at one point. In fact, little known story, Fearless was actually born in Howard County. It's born in Howard County. I also interned and got my tech start here at APL, also in Howard County. So Howard County is close to my heart. It is our genesis, so this is very much a homecoming for me. And through that experience, right, we've learned a lot, lots of, skinned our knee a bunch of times. We've done some things well over the years, and we wanted to share that knowledge. When we see the technical landscape across the country, there's plenty of incubators and startup studios and venture studios. I mean, throw a rock, you can hit one. The Y Combinators of the world. But where do you go if you want to build a great tech services or knowledge-based organization? We didn't really see that in the marketplace. We saw a huge gap. And so Hutch was born. Hutch is our incubator, and LaToya runs within the Fearless Institute. And so we started about 6 years ago, and really trying to build up great partners that are in the space that are also very civically minded, want to do good, want to do well at the same time. And it started as a bit of an experiment. So let's try this thing for a year, and we're figuring it out. And we're literally making curriculum the night before, and who's going to teach it, and all those things. And it has grown to in our 6th year. We're in our 6th cohort right now. There's almost 40 some companies within the portfolio, and they span everything from cyber, analytics, AI, machine learning, you name it. It's kind of design. It's across the board, and so it's been a great experience for us and for the founders. And it's really been about how do we support this next generation of companies, and hopefully they go on and they start their own Hutch, and we continue to build the ecosystem in our region.
Well, that is exciting. I think, the fact that you were launched here in Howard County, grew in Baltimore, throughout the state, the region, the nation, the world, making a global impact. It just goes to show how much can happen here. And huge shout out to LaToya and her vision and leadership. And speaking of innovation and impact, how do you think the work that you have done, are doing, and will do, especially with our companies, fits in with the governor's economic development strategy and building that economic ecosystem for the future?
Yeah, anytime we talk about economic development, right, there's never enough dollars to do everything, right? There's always, and I'm sure you know this well in your role, you see it every day. And so you've got to make investments and you've got to make bets. And so when we think about the bets for the state and the things that we do really well, we often talk about eds, meds, and feds. People are probably feeling some way about the feds right now, but a lot in that space in particular. But strong life sciences, expertise within the state. So we've got a right to win in that market in biotech. We've got a right to win within cyber. When we think about what's happening at APL and Fort Meade and NSA and DISA and Cybercom and all the assets that we have here, Data Tribe, and a lot of great things are happening in the space. We have a right to win kind of the technical services space and the knowledge economy that's here as well. And then we think about, again, from an economic development lens, there's also a workforce lens, right? And so workforce, our governor often talks about, work, wages, and wealth, right? How do we move people through all of those transitions within our state? And so all of those things are aligned. So when we think about Hutch from a life sciences perspective, so we've been building Hutch digital services for years now. How do you build tech services companies? But saw this huge need around research. You've got folks that are in lab that are making all sorts of amazing research advancements, R&D that's being developed, IP that's being developed. But oftentimes these researchers, they spend time going to get their master's and their PhD to become lab workers, to work in a lab. But who teaches them how to run the lab? Who teaches them how to take their IP out of the lab and build companies and then commercialize around it? So Hutch Research was launched this year. We had a very generous donor that wanted to see help that to come to life, and so that was launched this year. And so we're in the pilot phase this year next of launching that program. So that's supporting, again, one of the priorities from a state perspective. And again, we talk about tech services and cybersecurity, also very much aligned to where the governor wants the state to go as a region. And so many of our companies are cyber companies within our incubator as well. So there's an alignment there. And from a workforce development perspective, also within the Fearless Institute, there's a strong workforce development component, right? How do we bring in new talent and train them up? Again, for two things. Not just to work in the tech economy, but to run businesses in the tech economy. So there's a workforce angle to training businesses and making sure that they're equipped to grow and support their communities in the future.
Excellent. And speaking of growing in the future, there's been a lot of change at the contracting space these days, not only working with the feds, but just frankly, how do you continue to adapt to the ever-changing market as contractors and diversify your portfolio? What advice would you give to contractors to not only survive these tumultuous times, but frankly, to thrive into the future?
Yeah, there is no shortage of change going on right now within the federal marketplace. Everyone is well aware. Pick up the news every day. There's a new article. And so when you have an environment where you've got federal workers that are getting riffed and removed from their positions, right, that are out in the market, you've got a lot of brain drain that's happening within that space. and they still have missions. They've got missions that have to happen within those organizations. So the first thing is like really understand the context. So context, you've got people leaving, brain drain leaving the federal government. You've got cuts that are happening across industry, and so industries are trying to grapple and figure out where the funding's going. They're also reducing their staff, so everyone's getting more competitive. Also on the backdrop of that is this rise in AI. And AI powering so much of what's happening in the world today. People are grappling, what is it? How do I use it? How do I take advantage of it? But we know it's a thing, right? And the government knows it's a thing, right? How can we use it to drive more efficiencies? And so when you look at those two major shifts in the market, not only that, but just the economic conditions around tariffs and uncertainty, right? So people are just kind of holding their purse strings, like, we're not spending money yet. We're not sure what's going on. We're gonna try to recoup costs. So how do you win in an environment like that? To me, anytime you have a market that is potentially shrinking, a market that is trying to get more efficient, it is prone to technology and automation, right? And so how do we then, as tech companies, leverage that and get in position? Now the question is, where are those tech dollars going, right? Are they going to bigs? Are they going to smalls? Are they innovative? And so there's a space where I think companies can be successful by really understanding domain. It is more important now than ever. You can't just show up and say, we build great tech. Great. You and everybody in this room and every person that's going to talk to that customer before and after you. So it has to be more than that. You really have to understand, how am I going to make your mission more impactful? How am I going to help you make your mission more efficient? Which means I got to understand your mission. I got to really, really understand this domain and this problem space, because a lot of the powers that be in the brain power that was there, they're gone. So someone has to go there and fill that gap. And so that's number one. You have to understand the mission. And it's not just technical. How do I, then it's applied knowledge, right? How do I apply what it is that I do to your problem set? I think, certainly there's a space where everyone here is bidding on contracts and submitting proposals. I think people need to get more aggressive than that. What we're seeing now, and I was talking to a government client recently, that they had one of their colleagues, they put out an RFP, request for proposal, and they got thousands of responses. Thousands of responses for a couple of reasons. One, there's not a lot of movement in the federal market right now, right? So the few opportunities that are there, everyone is bidding. Two, a lot of people are using AI to write their proposals, right? And so now they're getting 5x, 10x, 20x, 50x the response rate. They got so many responses, they had to cancel the RFP. They canceled solicitation, they couldn't even read them. So what we see is, in many cases, requirements officers are using AI to generate requirements. Industry is using AI to respond to the requirements. And now they're building AI to evaluate the requirements, right? And so you've got the bots going back and forth, fighting, and at some point, the AI is gonna get good enough where the responses will all be perfect, right? Everyone, they'll be indistinguishable, right? So how do you then compete in that world, right? It is always gonna come back to relationships, right? It's basics, go back to basics in the business, right? It's gonna come back to relationships. Do I understand this customer? Do I understand this mission? Can I look you in the eye and know that you're gonna deliver for me, right? And so you have to have that, you have to build that. I think also, again, if you understand the problem space well enough, instead of being one of thousands responding, go to the customer and you pitch a solution, right? And so now you write a white paper and say, I know your problem, I know a solution, here's how I can help you save money, right? Here's how I can help you be more efficient. And now you're one of one, not one of thousands. And so I think that's a way to really thrive in this market, but it really starts with being proactive. And you can't swim where everyone else is swimming, right? You're just in the noise at that point. You got to find creative ways to get in front of people.
That's great advice. One of the things that we're talking about and celebrating here is your deepening relationship with Howard County. You and I have worked very well together, not only in the governor's Workforce Development Board, but also Greater Baltimore Committee, a lot of regional partnerships. And here we're expanding this partnership in Howard County. So why Howard County?
As I started with, Fearless was born here, right? So this is literally in our roots, and so it's exciting. It's exciting to come back and be able to do this here at home for me. Outside of that, when we think about assets in our region, right, in and surrounding Howard County, so Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, right, huge economic powerhouse. Again, I got my start there, right, and so I know this space very well and all of what happens within that space. Minutes away from NSA, DISA, Cyber Command, all of the federal assets that exist within this region, right? Just about the midpoint from DC and Baltimore, right? So you have access to both those markets in a very convenient space. And so Howard County makes sense, right? It makes sense. It's not just economic sense, but business sense for us. And the partnership, we were talking a little earlier, it's not about one jurisdiction doing what it can to win. Like, we don't win unless we win as a region, right? You start combining our assets as a region, as a state, like literally we cannot be touched. I mean, the governor has often said that, right? Asset rich, strategy poor. And so to us, this is a no-brainer. This is an absolute no-brainer. And when we think about, again, the pillars within Howard County, right? Efficient government, the push towards workforce, supporting businesses, those directly align with our mission and our core also, right? So this is a one-to-one mapping for us, and it's really a match made in heaven.
Well, I agree 100%. I'm excited to expand this partnership, and I think not only was this a great conversation, but we are together going to write that next great chapter, not just for Howard County, for the Baltimore region, but the entire state, the nation, the world. Thank you so much, Delali.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.